Hi everybody. Thanks for joining me on 10 Topics Live with Joey G. Today we're talking about being motivated. Okay, so a couple things I want to talk to you about being motivated. The first thing that I've found in my life, I'm a pretty motivated guy. The big thing for me was to have a plan. I think it's always easier to have a roadmap, because otherwise you're just driving through life crashing into cones and whatnot. But I think it's important to have a roadmap to where you want to end up and what you want to do. I think that's a big thing. So for me, when I got into comedy with the Tenderloins, it just started as like a side, like something for fun, and then opportunities presented themselves, and I was like, I can make a living out of this. So that's what I decided I wanted to do, make my comedy my career. So I had to set up a plan of a way to get there. So I think that's really important to just go ahead and do the plan. So now the plan is become a world famous international comic celebrity. Okay, so that's a big, broad plan. Also, side note, this is blown up way bigger than I ever thought it would be. So I say, okay, I want to be comedy for a living. Now that's just the headline. How do I get there? So it was like I had to hone my skills. I had to work on my improv. I had to do projects that made me better. I had to collaborate with people. I had to learn. I had to become a student of comedy. I had to do a lot of things to get there. It just doesn't happen. So you need to know that whole roadmap to get there, because otherwise you're just throwing out lofty things. So remember that, okay? I like to equate it to people being like, we want to put a man on the moon. That's the end game, was that. But then there's so many steps in between there about how to make that happen. So your man on the moon moment, like what do you really want to do, or what's the goal, the end game there? You need a way to get there. No matter how big or small, I think it's always good to talk it out and think about it. Say your goals, have big things you want to do, outline the steps to get there. And for instance, for me, like photography, I was like, okay, I want to get into photography. So great, how do I do that? I started researching cameras and finding out a good camera. I started reading books about, just the basics of digital photography. I got out there with a camera, took a lot of bad pictures, started learning about things that make a picture better. And then I started to share it and get feedback and of my photography and thinking about it. So that was like one of the things that I learned, and that kept me motivated. The other thing was like I wanted to do a book during quarantine. I wanted to do The Dog Father. Okay, publish a book. How do I get there, right? I had to learn Adobe InDesign. I had to take all the pictures. I had to write it. I had to proofread it. Get people to look at it for me. So it was a lot of steps to do it. So I think it's important to know the steps and not just the lofty goal. So there's that. A big thing for me is don't get derailed by a bad moment. So bad moments happen a lot of life. Something goes wrong every day. Let it. It's part of life, right? Everything's not going to be perfect, smooth sailing. Just the outcome is really what matters. Don't let it derail you. Don't let it derail you. If something bad happens or something not according to plan happens, adjust. Don't abort the whole thing, okay? So I can't say enough how important it is to push through. So make sure you push through and stay motivated by knowing that these things happen. Okay, don't be so naive to think that everything's gonna be roses. It's not. Life's hard. So that's part of it for me too. Also, I love feeding off the energy of people around me to keep me motivated and get people excited for things I'm excited about and have them part of it. Okay, so for like the Dog Father book, the book I spoke about earlier, I had my team and we all thought about it together and we figured out a way to do it, and the photo shoot and all that stuff, and all these little projects that really seem like something I want to do, I make them something we want to do, and I feed off the energy and the help of people. And you surround yourself with good people that do good work, and I've been very fortunate in that fact. So I think that's important too, to feed off the energy of people, and you don't have to go at it alone. Drive your passion, but have people that'll help you along the way. Big thing too is like motivational speakers, and like I think about this all the time because I hear about people like, oh, you should motivational speak, or oh, you should do that, and I'm like, oh, I do that. I say things that I think, and sometimes it'll resonate with somebody. That is motivational speak, that is whatever. But I think the big thing is if something resonates with you, make it actionable. Don't just make it a cool quote that you have and know, right? Think about what those words mean to you in the moment and apply them to life. Put words into action in your life. I think that's very important because you could find so many great motivational quotes and things that will do, but some things will resonate with you and you'll be like, oh, that makes sense to me. Why does that make sense to you? Dissect it, look at it. Make it part of your mantra, make it part of your being, and I think that'll help you stay motivated, and you'll learn from that. And then the people that say those things, you might not agree with everything they say, so there's not just one person that's like, oh, that's my person, right? Like, so like Gary Vee is a big guy out there that motivates a bunch of people. I love Gary. So if you look at he says so much, right? And he covers so much ground. Not everything's going to apply to you, right? But certain things will. So make those things part of whatever speaks to you, whatever speaks to your goals and your mission. Let that be what you take away from it. You got to let the words make a difference in the way you think and act. Let them change you for the better. Okay? So that's some of my thoughts on motivation. I'll get through now and I'll answer some of the questions that you guys had. So Natasha Trace Robinson on Instagram. How do you get out of a routine rut? I get overwhelmed with a feeling like every day is the same as the last. I think that's really hard to get out of that, because the routine rut, as long as you feel like you know what you're working toward, then it won't feel like a routine. It'll feel like steps to get there. You have to feel like you're making progress every day. So just don't get up and do the same thing and be like, okay, I'm doing it again. Like, I think you need to really just try to know why you're in that routine and make that routine have purpose. Not a wake up in time to make the donuts kind of deal and feeling. If you don't know what time to make the donuts is, it's a very old Dunkin' Donuts commercial. Google it. It's a funny commercial. Muse Akumadas asks, did having kids change your mindset on motivation? Absolutely. As in, you want to achieve things for them as much as yourself and want to be a good role model. Role model was never lost on me. Children definitely amplified that, but role model was definitely not lost on me, because I have younger cousins and people I know that I played that role for in their life. So I think that's important to know that. And I think big part of it was to understand your role in other people's lives and try to help people when you can. Having kids, definitely, for sure. Like, I love my kids and I want them to have fond memories like I do of my father, and be a good person so they could remember and model themselves around the best of me. So, for sure. How do you keep family and work separate and keep everyone happy and motivated? Says S. Douglas Rosales El Miro Miro. That's a long username. How do I, let's see. That's interesting. Family and work separate's hard because is hard in my position because I'm me on the TV show. And you have to take time for both, I've learned, especially in the pandemic and being home so much. A big thing for me was learning to make time for both. That's a big takeaway for me, to make me better as a person. And I think that is definitely something I needed to work on, and I've worked on, and I feel way better about. The keeping everyone happy is, I'm a naturally energetic and pretty positive and happy person, and I also like to make people laugh and do that a lot. So naturally, I think a lot of that happens. So you have to be able to keep that up as best you can and try to keep everybody happy, but not at the expense of your own happiness. Like, so if you're in a mood too, or something is eating at you, talk about it. Don't just like brush it off with comedy or try to be fun and happy. Don't have blind happiness, I think. There's always reasons to celebrate. There's always stuff to think about that are good, but there's also stuff that's bad and you need to recognize and work through. So don't just have blind happiness, because that stuff's just going to stack up underneath. Live in each moment, good or bad, and then act accordingly. I hope that made sense. Logan is not awake. Is there something in your life you have or like to think about that keeps you motivated during tough times? Yeah, my parents, for sure. I think about keeping them proud of what I've become, and I think all the time, I carry them with me in my heart, and I definitely say that I'm hardest on myself thinking about how they would have thought of something I've done, or how proud they would have been, or how disappointed they would have been, or whatever. It's a defining characteristic for me. I think it defines the way I operate, for sure. How have the other jokers helped motivate you? Asks Jasmine Ali Art. We go through it together, which is good. So through the ups and downs, I have a support system of 3 other guys that know exactly how I feel, because we're all going through the same thing. A show not getting picked up or canceled. The lows of that, the lows of anything personal in the life that we have to go through. The highs of playing the O2 in Madison Square Garden and getting another television show and all that stuff, and doing a movie and walking the red carpet with my best friends. Like, that is what motivates you. That being able to do it as a group, I think, is very fortunate and is not lost on me, on any of us, I don't think. I think being together has really helped us all. Awesome HMK asks, how do you motivate yourself to do something you might be scared to do? I'm fearless. Fearless. On Twitter, @cherish_XOXO. Lately, I've been having really low self-esteem. What are some tips you can give me to help build my self-esteem back up? Nobody's judging you as hard as you are. So stop it, right? Because your self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. So no one has the right to contribute to that and make you feel. And then just look at it and have an honest assessment of yourself. What don't you like? Don't be like, I have low self-esteem. Why? What don't you like? Change it. You don't like your personality, something in your personality. You don't like your physical look. You know, something. You know, your weight, your hair, your whatever. Look at what's that stemming from, and then attack and change it. You have the power to do that, and it's called self-esteem because you're in charge of it. So nobody's going to help you do that. So you have to just take a look and just figure out the best way to go. Could people help you and consult you on the best ways to change things or whatever? Of course. And that's why you have friends and people that care about you in your life. But self-esteem stems from the self. So you have to start there. And I wish you the best. Jamie Cube 101. What do you do to help yourself when you're feeling depressed and on the edge and no one is around to help you but yourself? I remember and bank all the good times, right? That's a big thing. You could feed off all the... Because it's all highs and lows, right? So think about when you're at your lowest and think about when you're at your highest. And I would probably say at your lowest and at your highest is either equal or one just a little bit more than the other. So remember that if you could feel this good and you could feel this bad, you could get back to feeling this good, you know, when something changes, and everything changes day by day. So you have to give time in the world a chance to get you back. So I think that's an important thing to remember. And again, you know, you need to remember the good in life. Remember it, store it, live in those moments, surround yourself with people that will be there to help you even when you're at your lowest. And I wish you nothing but the best, James. Facebook, Greg McMarrow. How do you find the motivation to write when you're not feeling motivated or creative? Oh, I was dragging my feet for a while on the script I was working on. It's hard because creative can't be forced. You have to be in the mood, right? You have to be in the mood to do it. So the way that it helps is try to do things that will motivate you creatively. So for instance, I had to write some things about a movie. So I just started watching some movies that I know I enjoyed, and that just made me feel like, oh, that I want to make something. I want to do this. So for me, that's what I would do. I would try to remember what is motivating you in that to be creative. Why? Why do you feel like that? Are you a songwriter? What songs did you hear that made you want to be a songwriter? Listen to those songs. Let that spark. Do what you can to reignite that spark by surrounding yourself with the creativity that inspired you. Okay. And let's see. Strong Kelly asks, how can one stay focused on a diet where there's a lot of temptation? Don't ask me. I love me some pastry. Okay, so you're asking the wrong guy there. Wish I could help you, but I don't have all the answers, friends. I know when I don't have an answer, and for that, wrong guy. Talk to a nutritionist or someone who is not as rotund as myself. So, but good luck to you, and much love. So thank you so much for joining me for topics. 10 topics talking about motivation. I wish you all the best, and please stay motivated, stay strong, surround yourself with winners, and have fun before the clock runs out. Much love to you guys.